In this video, we talk about the poor countries shouldn't open their markets if rich countries maintain high trade barriers. The author argued that poor countries should keep their markets open and remove protectionist policies, even if rich countries still maintain trade barriers. According to the author, countering protectionism with protectionism is not smart, as it will only harm the poor countries themselves. The basic idea of this view is that opening up to trade can boost economic growth and increase export, as proven by the experience of Asian countries such as Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan since the 1960s. In contrast, countries that maintain protectionism such as India, China, Argentina, and Egypt experiences economic stagnation due to such close policies, even though they face similar levels of global protectionism.
Hi guys. The author also criticized the rhetoric from Western advocacy groups and rich countries that call free trade from hypocrisy, as such comments only complete the efforts of leaders in poor countries to carry out market reforms. Through quotes from economist Joan Robinson and statements by former World Bank chief economist Nicholas Stern, an author emphasized that while criticism of rich countries is legitimate, poor countries still need act in their own interest and not wait for external justice. In conclusion, economic history shows that countries that dare to open up to trade will be better able to take advantage of international market opportunities, even if they still face barriers from other countries.
So let's move on to the next part is debunk. First is ignores global economics power imbalance. This article is mentioned that poor countries should unconditionally open their markets, but in reality, the rich countries have much stronger bargaining power in international trade. And the poor countries open their market without protection. It would damage the domestic industry because their country is not ready to compete globally. The second is overgeneralization. These articles highlight the success of countries like South Korea and Taiwan, but they ignore the specific context that contribute to their success, such as military and economic. From the US and strong industrial policy, and not all countries will have the same output, even though they follow the same policy. And the last is neglects the role of protectionism in early development. So, many development nations use protectionism to save their industry during their industry stage. For example, the US and Germany in 19 they implement high tariffs before becoming a strong industrial nation.
Hello everyone, my name is Adisara Parisanapari and my student number is 43. I'm gonna talk about comparison between a country that embraced export orientation and one that adopted protectionism, Singapore and India. First, we're gonna talk about Singapore with its success through an export strategy. After gaining independence in 1965 with no natural resources, Singapore chose an open and export-oriented strategy, contrary to the global trend of protectionism at the time. By removing trade barriers, attracting foreign investment, and building infrastructure like world-class ports, Singapore became a global trade hub. In the 1980s, export of electronics, chemicals, and financial services drove rapid growth, increasing GDP per capita from $500 in 1965 to 2000 at 1990. And another one is India, the impact of protectionism before reforms. After independence in 1947, India implemented protectionism policies known as the license rats, with high tariff and import restrictions. As a result, exports were weak and economic growth stagnant. 1991 economic crisis forced liberalizations. Tariffs were lowered and markets opened. Afterward, exports such as software and pharmaceutical grew rapidly and the economy expanded by 6 until 8% annually.
Hello everyone, counter statement. Although the opening international markets can ensure economic growth, not all countries are ready to compete fairly in the global market. For countries that open their market too quickly without protection from domestic industry actually risks destroying immature sectors in such conditions. Protection can be important temporary strategy to protect local industry from the domination of cheaper and more technology advanced foreign products. Developed countries themselves have historically used the protection before finally opening themselves up to trade, therefore demanding the poor countries be fully open without considering the structural threats can be unfair and counterproductive. Selective and temporary protection can be an important tool for long-term economic development.
So the conclusion is while trade liberalization can bring benefits, the historical context and specific condition of each country must be considered. First, power imbalance in global trade cannot be ignored. Poor countries often have weak bargaining position in international trade negotiation. And second, the success of countries like Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan was not solely the result of market openness, but was also supported by strong industrial policy, investment in infrastructure, and in some cases significant geopolitical assistance. Third, economic history showed that today developed countries, including the US and European nations, actually used protectionist policy during the early stage of their industrial development before transitioning to free trade. And fourth, trade liberalization without adequate infrastructure, institution, and industrial capacity can result in damage to local industry and long term economic dependency.